everyone, what's up? This is Simon from DevDectic, back with a tutorial that we had some time ago about drag and drop using the Dragula package. So what we're going to do is we will build a simple Ionic app that allows us to move around some elements between different quadrants. So we will incorporate the Eisenhower principle. Maybe you've heard of it before. Basically 4 quadrants where we can move around and drag and drop our items using Dragula. It's really simple, so let's do this. This is the package on GitHub. It's called ng2Dragula. Actually, this is only the wrapper around the official Dragula package. So anyway, they have a great demo that you can try. And also, it's super easy. Simply run npm install with a package name inside your project. I've created a blank new project with Ionic 4, by the way. And the first thing we're gonna do is go to our app module, and in here, of course, wait until the package is installed, import the Dragula module from ng2, there we go. And then simply add it to the array of your imports and call for root, just like you know with other packages as well. There's a tiny issue with the package, and sorry, if you currently run it, your app will be completely blank, and the fix is to go to your polyfills file and simply at the bottom insert this line. So this is the workaround as they presented it on the GitHub page. It's not super cool, but it works for now, and maybe they will get it fixed in the near future. Also, what we need is some additional CSS, and therefore go to your global SCSS, and you can find this CSS exactly in the article linked below this video. And also, if you scroll down on the page, you will find it right here. It's a replacement for their own node module CSS file. It's a bit better, so simply copy and paste it to your global SCSS. And once this is all done, we can get to the actual implementation of the drag and drop. So whenever you want to use this package in your lazy loaded pages, you will have to add the Dragula module and of course the according import. Otherwise, you won't be able to use the elements or the service that we will use. So let's continue with the home page. So I'll bring in some information. I'll also show you this. This is basically the idea behind the app we want to develop. We got the 4 quadrants. The principle is urgent, not urgent, important, not important. So how to delegate your tasks. I've actually created it as a simple app a few years ago, also using Dragula, but now we will do this with Ionic 4. So we got the 4 arrays, which all contain a little or 2 elements with some value that we want to display, and also optional little color. So we can experiment a bit and play a bit around with some different colors on our elements. And of course, we also want to be able to add new to-dos. So I'll add a blank to-do here. And then we also have to select the quadrant once we add new to-dos. So let's add this one as well. Then we go ahead with our constructor, and we're gonna need the Dragula service now. Let's see if the import is working. Yeah, it should. And also the toast controller from Ionic. So we can display a little toast at some point. Actually, not the import. Hello. No imports today. Again, thanks. Anyway, there we go. Ionic, Angular, of course. All right. We will have one function to add a to-do, and then we have some configuration for the Dragula service, so we can subscribe to the drag event, to drop events, to outside drop events, There are many more events that you can subscribe to. We will just use a few of them. So let's say the Dragula servers, you see quite a few of them that you can use. If some element is dragged, which means we touched it and want to put it somewhere. So not our text, but of course a button later on. In that case, we will subscribe to it. And here we have a bunch of information that we could subscribe to. So name, element, source. And for others, we might have even more. So at the bottom, you can see this one. And you can pick out the ones that you want to use from the actual function. So if you don't know, on the Mac, simply press Command and on the function name, and then you will get to the implementation. That's where I got. So let's simply use everything from it in this first block. And then we need more brackets, and then we should close the bracket at some point. So whenever we start to drag an element, we will set the attribute of this element color. So just like we got ion, button, color, whatever. So when we start to drag this button, we want to replace the color with simply danger. So that's the red color defined in your theming file inside here. Okay, so now we should have a red button when we drag the item. Perhaps we will do the rest of it once everything is working. For now, let me also bring in the add to do function, because it's not really interesting. The only thing we need to do is switch between our selected quadrant, so we can define the color of the item that we want to add, and then we will simply push the new to do in the appropriate array. This is the syntax to access a variable by a name. So we will either have Q1, Q2, 3, 4, and it's like doing it this way, but of course we want to do it dynamically. So that's this syntax, and then we reset it back to empty. So now before we do the rest of the functionality, let's go to our home page, and we call this Devdectic Eisenhower. All right, the first thing we're gonna do is add force overscroll false. Of course, overscroll. You won't see any difference if this is missing inside the browser preview, but you will actually see a big difference on a device, because on a device and you will drag an item and suddenly the app will start like this, because the list scrolling or the Ion content scrolling will get triggered, and this prevents this crazy effect. Now the first part is actually pretty easy. So let's wrap this inside the little Ion grid, and then let's add the imports. You can, as always, find the code below this video. We're not going through everything, or I'm not coding everything. The videos are a bit too long otherwise, so let's keep this short. In our grid layout, we first define a row with one item which represents an input for the new to-do value. And then we also have to select the quadrant, and I gave them the names do, schedule, delegate, and don't do. And this is the value. And of course our add to do blocks. So this is only really to add new to-dos. This has nothing to do yet with our actual Dragula implementation. So therefore I'll bring in the view, and hopefully it's loading. Otherwise we might have a little something gone wrong, but for now let's continue, because what we really want is those 4 areas and drag and drop between them. So I'll wrap everything inside an Ion row, and I'll also add no padding so they fill the screen, and we will later also add some CSS, so we give this one the class matrix. Okay, we already see we can select, we can add the to-do, and of course we don't see the new to-do because we don't have that area yet. So in here, all of them should take a size of 6. So 2 of these will be next to each other, and then we have another 2, and they will look pretty much the same. There are only small differences between them. So let's say class Q1. I'm actually not sure if we still use this, but I think for the border, and also if you want to target them somehow specific, that's just some styling in here. Then div class, maybe a little header inside our lists. So this one is the do bucket or bag or whatever you want to call it, and now things get interesting. So we want to drag between different ion lists, and to connect them we simply say Dragula bag, and this is only a name. This could also be dog or whatever, vampire, as long as it is the same as in the next one. So if you have the second block below, so let's say this is Q2 and this should be I think schedule or whatever, then you have to use the same name in here to be able to drag from one to the other. So if you got bag in here and vampire here, you would not be able to drag and drop between those two lists. All right, I think that's clear so far. So this will be just the name bag, because previously it was bags. And then we have the ng model, or in this case, the Dragula model. And this should, of course, be assigned to the array of our class. Of course, here is Q1, and next it will be Q2. We don't want any lines in here, but that's just specific to the ion list. And then we have the ion items in which we will have something. So of course, ng4 let item of Q1. The color of this item should be, guess what, item.color. That's why we defined that additional property right here. But of course, there would be multiple ways to handle this. Expand block, and then text wrap, and then simply item.value in here. And if I typed everything correctly, let's see how this looks on our screen. Actually, we just have that one area, so don't expect it to work yet. But still, okay, we got the list, and you see we can actually start to drag things, but of course we cannot drag them anywhere, and maybe some styling is missing. So now I will remove this, and this is basically the blueprint for the first one, and I will bring in the next 3 ones. So this is the one we added, and then we got another for the second one, schedule. Same bag like before. Now the model has changed and the iteration changed, and again 3 3 3 4 4 4, and always the same bag, so we can drag and drop between each of them. Okay, great. Is there anything I wanted to say, but actually forgot? No worry. Finally, I will also add a little area below everything, and I will call this the delete area, just to indicate that you could drag and drop to that area and the item would be removed. So align items center, justify content center to make everything nicely aligned, and then ion icon name trash, color medium, and of course we will still need some additional CSS to make everything look good. But let's see how it looks with our 4 quadrants now. There we go. You see, we got the different colors on them. The headers are not really looking good, but we got the trash icon here. But the interesting thing is we can now move between these. We can move everything wherever we want to. So you see, that's pretty much a nice and very cool effect already. But of course, we want some more CSS. Perhaps we want some UI changes applied. We cannot remove any object even if we drag it to wherever we want. Let's also test this. Yeah, this is also working perfectly already. It is added with the right color to the right bucket, and we can still move things around, but sometimes you see it's not working, and there we will add some CSS. So perhaps I will bring in the CSS first. Again, you can find it in the article link below. I just added some border to all the elements, then some margin, overrode the column padding, and set the min height to 150. And what's important here is to set the list within the matrix to a height of 100. And this helps to allow drag and drop even if the bucket, bag, list, whatever it is called, is empty. So this is the important part here. The rest is basically just some styling, and for the delete area as well, some height, icon size stuff, just to make it look like exactly this. So now we can make this list empty, and we can still drag here because it has a height of 100. Perhaps you could also change it to have a fixed height if you're on the device. Imagine this, you don't want to move them all the way down. So in that case, you should have perhaps a list with a height of 200, and then the overflow inside that list is scrollable right here. All right, what is still missing is the drag, the drop, remove functionality, and some other things we wanted to add using the service. So let's go back to the home page once more, and then to the Dragula service. So Dragula service on remove model from our bag. In that case, we want to subscribe to it. And we could get quite a few values in here, but the only thing we need right now is the item, which represents exactly this entry. So if it is removed, we will call our toast controller to create a new toast with a message being removed, and then item dot value. This, and duration perhaps 2 seconds, and then following the new syntax, of course you have to use it like this to present it. So they are now promise based with Ionic 4. Now if we drag something out and remove it, we will now see a toast, but we actually can't drag it out yet because we haven't defined or added that option. And to add this option, we can call the create group functionality. What's the explanation? Create group creates a group with a specified name and options, formerly known as set options. So it's the same as set options, and we want to set some options for our back group. And what we want to set in here is remove on spill true. This is false by default, and spill means some element is dropped outside of any defined container. And in that case, when it happens, we will remove the actual object, and then this remove model will be called, and in the background the item will also be removed from the associated ng model. And finally, one more thing perhaps, just to show you a bit more. If a model is dropped, and again, we have to specify the group name. We subscribe. We only want the item. And then we can set the item color to, let's say, success. So this will happen whenever we successfully drop an item to another group. We will set the item color to success, which is green. So let's see if all of this is actually working. We let the reload happen, and then let's see, first of all, test to do. We can add new to-dos. if we start to drag it here and drop it, it gets green. Actually, this is name element source. Of course, we are missing the name. So let's do this again, because this should happen when we drag the item. It should change to red, and this was not happening. But now we see once we start to move it around, it becomes red. If we drop it successfully, it becomes green. Doesn't matter what color it had before, it becomes green. So we can move them around between our different buckets, and let's see what happens if we move it actually outside. We see the new toast. So this area is really just a fake. You could also drop it there or wherever, just outside the view. That will be, or that will trigger the spill. So remove on spill true is removed, and then this function is called. Okay, so that's actually all for today. The drag and drop functionality is super easy to implement using Dragula. And therefore you can build great Ionic apps with this feature. Just keep in mind the space you have available. Perhaps you need to set some fixed height or width in some cases. And if you see strange effect on a device, just let me know so we can work things out. If you enjoyed this video, of course, make sure to subscribe somewhere below this video. And also check out the ionicacademy.com, which is my own coding school for Ionic, so you can learn Ionic as fast as possible. I'd love to see you in there in the next video as a subscriber everywhere. I love you everywhere. So have a great day and take care.